Dobre, myslím si, že môžeme začať. Dobrý večer prajem všetkým. Srdečne vás vítam na finálovom večeri CFA Institute Research Challenge, lokálne kolo, ktoré organizuje CFA Society Slovakia. Mene organizátora, aby som vás tu chcel ešte raz srdečne privítať, nielen všetkých študentov, ktorí sa zapojili tento rok do tejto súťaže, a rovnako tak by som chcel privítať všetkých mentorov, faculty advisorov, graderov a judgeov, ktorí na rôznych dobrovoľníckych pozíciách pracovali. Rovnako tak vítam členov CFA Society Slovakia, ktorí prijali pozvanie a prišli si vypočuť prezentácie študentov, ich prácu a zároveň aj ich povzbudiť. A teraz som si to všimol a určite a dovolím si tu privítať aj veľmi vzácneho hostia, pána Branislava Tkáčika, CFO spoločnosti ASECO Central Europe, ktorý sprostredkovával základné informácie o spoločnosti ASECO Business Solutions, ktorá bola target company v tomto ročníku pre našich študentov. Takže dobrý večer, pán Tkáčik.
Ďakujem za možnosť sa zúčastniť na celom tomto projekte. Bola to pre mňa tiež veľmi zaujímavá skúsenosť a rovnako aj za pozvanie na tento finálový večer, takže rád sa zúčastním a pozriem si aj tie výsledky vlastne tej práce vašich študentov. Takže ďakujem ešte raz a pekný večer prajem.
Ďakujem aj my veľmi pekne a zároveň by som si dovolil privítať medzi nami ešte Mareka Prokopca, prezidenta CFA Society Slovakia, a požiadal by som ho o pár slov na začiatok nášho finálového večera.
Ďakujem veľmi pekne. Tak ja by som dneska chcel v prvom rade privítať všetkých študentov a naozaj teším sa, že ste sa zapojili aj v takýchto komplikovaných podmienkach, pretože v porovnaní s tou minulosťou, keď sa dali robiť veci, fyzicky stretávať, dali sa robiť prezentácie, je to celé iné. To znamená, že sme radi sa to podarilo zorganizovať, ale nie je to ideálne. Ten online svet má svoje limity. To znamená, že my vás preto chceme všetkých pozvať, keď sa to bude dať na nejakú spoločnú večeru, kde si prediskutujeme veci, porozprávame sa, spoznáte ľudí, s ktorými sa teraz nemali šancu byť v kontakte, ale bude to určite zaujímavé. Chcem vás dneska poprosiť, skúste odložiť celú nervozitu niekde bokom, lebo celé to je o tom, že dneska nám tu poviete, porozprávate, že čo ste vybádali, čo ste zistili. To znamená, že najdôležitejšie je dať ten message, aby sme pochopili, že ako vy tú spoločnosť vidíte, prečo si myslíte, že tie vaše argumenty sú správne, na čom sú podložené. Takže dajte preč nervozitu, porozprávajte nám a my sa na to pozrieme a potom si to celé niekedy rozdiskutujeme na tom pive alebo na tej večeri. Takže hor sa do toho, úplne v kľude. Teším sa na tie prezentácie aj s mojimi kolegami. Vždycky to je pre nás taký sviatok, pretože my sa pohybujeme v tom finančnom svete, ale vidieť to niekedy očami takého študenta je niekedy oveľa zaujímavejšie ako takého experta, ktorý už to má toľko okúkané, že niekedy nevidí ani medzi riadkami. Takže naozaj sa teším a držím vám palce.
Ďakujem veľmi pekne, Marek. Ja by som teraz prešiel k krátkej prezentácii, ktorú mám pripravenú pre vás, aj pre teda všetkých účastníkov tohto nášho online stretnutia. Na úvod mi dovolte poďakovať aj partnerom, ktorí podporujú fungovanie CFA Society Slovakia. Menovite môžeme ísť od Tatra banky, ČSOB, EY, ProRate, L&N Overy, Erste Asset Management, Case a samozrejme CFA Institute ako hlavný organizátor celosvetovej súťaže Research Challenge, a rovnako tak medzi partnerov patrí aj naša CFA Society Slovakia, ktorá zastrešuje fungovanie tejto súťaže na Slovensku úspešne už tretí rok. Pár informácií o dnešnom evente. Na začiatok si poviem pravidlá, ktoré budú platiť v rámci finálových prezentácií. Pre účastníkov, ktorí sú možno že prvýkrát účastní CFA súťaže CFA Institute Research Challenge, tak súťaž sa skladá z dvoch častí. Tou prvou časťou bolo vypracovanie reportov každým tímom. Tieto reporty už sú ohodnotené gradermi, ktorí si prečítali tieto reporty, ohodnotili ich, to je 50% váha hodnotenia, a zvyšných 50% budú tvoriť hodnotenia našich porodcov, ktorých predstavím o malú chvíľočku. Potom si teda prejdeme tie základné pravidlá, potom prejdeme k prezentácii jednotlivých tímov, ako môžete vidieť. Budeme mať čakajú nás prezentácie troch tímov, tím A, tím B, tím D. Samozrejme, za každým tímom sa skrýva nejaká univerzita, ale v rámci pravidel súťaže až do vyhlásenia výsledkov nie je možné, aby sme vám prezradili, ktorý tím reprezentuje ktorú univerzitu. Na záver, po skončení všetkých prezentácií sa odoberieme do samostatnej miestnosti s našimi porodcami, kde oni ohodnotia jednotlivé reporty a nakoniec vyhlásime víťazov. Dovolte mi predstaviť porodcov dnešnej súťaže. Prvým porodcom bude, teda chronologicky, keď idem, máme 4 porodcov. Prvým porodcom bude Marek Prokopec CFA, pani Miroslava Švarcová CFA, ospravedlňujem sa, ušlo mi tu titul CFA, pán Jaroslav Janiček CFA a Marek Sásik CFA. Takže 4 porodcovia, ktorí dnes budú hodnotiť prezentácie, ktoré si pripravili naši študenti. Zároveň mi dovolte vám predstaviť takto už aj konkrétne tímy, ktoré boli zapojené do súťaže. Mali sme tento rok 3 tímy z Univerzity Komenského, 2 tímy z fakulty manažmentu a 1 tím z fakulty matematiky, fyziky a informatiky. Po jednom tíme mala zastúpená Ekonomická univerzita v Bratislave a Slovenská poľnohospodárska univerzita v Nitre. Rovnako tak vidíte, kto boli fakulty advisory na jednotlivých univerzitách. Veľmi pekne im aj touto cestou ďakujem, keďže viem, že sú prihlásení. Veľmi si vážim, že sa opäť rozhodli zapojiť do tejto súťaže a že aj v tomto ťažkom covidovom období dokázali, poviem to národne, aj presvedčiť študentov, aby venovali svoj čas aj takéto mimoškolskej aktivite. Každý tým mal priradeného mentora. Rovnako tak ďakujem aj našim mentorom, Matejovi Vargovi, Martinovi Šebekovi a Viktorovi Lehockému, rovnako tak aj Matejovi Sarincovi a Františkovi Štulajterovi, ktorí sa podujali mentorovať aj tento rok. Pre niektorých to bola nová skúsenosť, niektorí už boli ostrielaní z predchádzajúcich ročníkov, že sa rozhodli pomáhať študentom pri vypracovávaní týchto reportov. Čo sa týka pravidiel, máme 3 tímy. Každý tím vypracovával investičné odporúčanie v súvislosti so spoločnosťou ASECO Business Solutions. Každý tím bude mať vyhradených 10 minút na prezentáciu. Upozorňujem dôrazne, že 10 minút je maximum. To znamená, ak nestihnete ukončiť vašu prezentáciu do 10 minút, tak vás preruším. A následne budeme pokračovať 10 minútami, ktoré sú určené na otázky a odpovede. V rámci tejto session otázky môžu klásť len 4 porodcovia, nikto iný z účastníkov sa nemôže zapojiť do procesu kladenia otázok. Opäť po 10 minútach, ak teda niekto to využije, tak to zastavím. Čo sa týka víťaza určíme na základe hodnotenia, ktoré získali. 50% váhu bude mať hodnotenie reportov a 50% váhu bude mať hodnotenie prezentácií. Chcel by som všetkých požiadať, aby ste, síce nie sme osobne, ale mali vypnuté mobilné telefóny, ak budete mať aj zapnutý mikrofón, aby vám to nezvonilo. A ak sa dá, tak kým nebudete rozprávať, tak mať vypnutý mikrofón, mať ho mutenutý. Toto sú asi tie základné pravidlá, ktoré je potrebné vedieť. Ešte na ilustráciu vám dávam do pozornosti to, ako vyzerá hodnotiaca správa, ktorú vypracovávajú naši porodcovia, čo všetko hodnotia. Sú to oblasti financial analysis, valuation, ESG, presentation, question and answer, team involvement a materials. Máte tu aj maximálne bodové ohodnotenie, koľko môžu študenti získať za jednotlivé časti, no a súčte môžu maximálne získať 100 bodov. Ako som už povedal, tak tou cieľovou spoločnosťou, ktorú oceňovali naši študenti, bola ASECO Business Solutions spoločnosť, ktorá je teda kotovaná na Varšavskej burze. Čo sa týka ešte tej postupnosti, dnes sa koná finále lokálneho kola a víťazný tím zo Slovenska postupuje do subregionálneho kola, ktoré sa bude konať v marci. A ja po skončení tejto súťaže nahlásim víťaza tohto ročníka do CFA Institute, zároveň pošlem ich report report s e-mailovými adresami do centrály a oni následne potom budú inštruovať študentov, ako sa ďalej postupuje. Bohužiaľ, mesiac dozadu nám prišla veľmi taká, dá sa povedať, smutná, ale očakávaná aj správa, že CFA Institute zrušil všetky plánované prezenčné podujatia. To znamená, všetky kolá subregionálne, regionálne, celosvetové finále sa ani tento rok nebudú konať prezenčne, ale len online. V prípade toho, čo veríme a dúfame, že naši študenti úspejú v tom subregionálnom kole, tak následne regionálne semifinále je naplánované na týždeň od 4. do 8. apríla 2022. Regionálne finále následne 17. máj a následne 17. mája sa koná aj globálne finále. Na záver tejto mojej krátkej prezentácie mi nezostáva nič iné povedať, len zaželať všetkým študentom veľa šťastia, pridať sa k tomu, čo povedal už Marek Prokopec. Naozaj uvoľnite sa, užite si to. Dnes si myslím, že je to veľmi dobrá príležitosť, aby sme aj my nejakým spôsobom ocenili tú prácu, ktorú ste do toho dali, lebo naozaj strávili ste pri tom veľké množstvo hodín a aj prostredníctvom otázok, ktoré určite budú mať naši porodcovia, vám chceme pomôcť v tom, aby ste sa aj v rámci vašej profesionálnej kariéry posúvali ďalej a napredovali, pretože učíme sa celý život. Dobre, toľko moja prezentácia. Pár organizačných ešte vecí. Poradie, ktoré tento rok bude zvolené, začneme odzadu, to znamená prvý tím bude tím D, ktorý bude prezentovať. Ja za chvíľočku, ja by som chcel požiadať, aby členovia tímu A a tímu B sa presunuli do práve otvorených breakout rooms. Už som to otvoril, mali by ste mať možnosť sa do toho pridať, takže tím A do tímu A, tím B do tímu B. Počas týmy, ktoré ešte neprezentovali, nemôžu byť prítomné prezentáciám týmu, ktorý akurát prezentuje, aby tam nedošlo k nejakému tomu ovplyvňovaniu, čo nevravím samozrejme, že nejakým spôsobom dojde, ale také sú pravidlá, že týmy, ktoré neprezentovali, tak nemôžu byť prítomné v rámci pravidel súťaže. Dobre, čakám. Tým B je takmer kompletný. Super, dobre. Páni a dámy, poprosil by som tým D zdieľať prezentáciu, zapnúť si aj kamery. Super, perfektné. Ste pripravení?
Áno.
Dobre. Takže poprosím vás, sledujte si aj vy čas, tých 10 minút. Ja nechcem vás vyrušovať tým, že vlastne nie sme fyzicky, nemám vám ako ukazovať, že už ktorú minútku máte. Takže sledujte si ten čas, aby tých 10 minút ste stihli. Držím palce a nech sa páči.
So hello everyone. Firstly, we would like to apologize, but our 3 members got sick from COVID and one of them won't be even present at today's presentation, but we're going to try to do our best anyway. So my name is Dominika, and together with my colleagues Sabina and Monica, we are going to talk about our research concerning the company ASECO Business Solutions. ASECO Business Solutions is part of the international ASECO group. The company is headquartered in Poland and it operates with enterprise resource planning system. As we can see on figure 1, the majority of the company's income comes from Poland, which is the company's domestic market. The income from rest of the world is still relatively low, even when the company is trying to increase its exports abroad too. We can go to the next slide. We decided to issue a buy recommendation on ASECO Business Solutions with target price of 55.337 zloty, which is 12.20 euro. Our recommendation is based on the company's operating potential, competitive position, and financial results. Okay, we can go next. In terms of operating potential, the ASECO Business Solutions is experiencing long-term growth. We can say that it is thanks to overall growth of the ERP system industry in which the company is operating. It is also strongly influenced by industry trends. On figure 3, we can see that there is stable revenue growth, which is a major indicator of the company's ability to execute. From company's reports, we can conclude that much of its earnings comes is company paying out as dividends, and this willingness to pay dividends and also retain the company's revenue over time provides a solid demonstration of financial strength, and it also sends a very positive message to potential investors. We can continue.
Asseco's revenues consist of more than 95% from enterprise resource planning segment. And with production of ERP, is Asseco one of the biggest producers in Europe. Their primary market is Poland, but they have been focusing on sales of software and services also to the global market, to more than 50 countries, resulting in higher sales. The growth of revenues is primarily driven by Poland's GDP, as we can see on the upper graph. With the depreciation of Polish zloty, which is currently at its lowest for the last 12 years, causing Poland's inflation rising. We also expect Poland's GDP rising at lower rates than last year, which we forecast to be the same for ABS growth of revenues. ABS has the highest profitability ratios compared to its peers, and these ratios has been rising or have been rising every year. ABS has increased these ratios and minimized the impact of COVID-19 through generating more sales, reducing their costs of goods and sold, and operating and interest expenses. With increasing net income and decreasing total average assets, ABS has been able to achieve higher ROA than its peers. High ROE can be caused by generating high profits or excessive debt. But since ABS debt to equity ratio is low, its above average ROE is driven by its ability to grow its profit without a significant debt burden. We can go to the next slide. For liquidity, Asseco has been improving their performance year to year by increasing their current and AC ratio, mostly by paying off their liabilities, increasing inventory turnover and sales, and by improving their debt position by lowering their debt. Asseco has highest payout ratios compared to its peers. The cause of decline in dividend payout ratio from 2017 to 2019 was that company has reinvested money back to the business by merging with Macrologic SA. And since then, it has increased its retained earnings, which resulted in higher net income in the following years, and company was then able to increase DPS and the dividend payout ratio in 2020. We could go to the next slide.
Okay, so as we said, Asseco Business Solutions is part of the international Asseco Group through Asseco Enterprise Solutions, which holds 46.47% of the shares of ABS. Asseco Group operates on the basis of a unique cooperation model called Federation Model, which generally aims to act together because its components are organized and as a standalone corporate entities. But they often have conflicting motivations. They do not behave as single corporations. This is costly and important disadvantage in seeking to fulfill a common mission. We identified multiple investment risks from which we selected 2 market and 2 financial risks that we think may have the highest probability and impact on ABS. Polish zloty is the main functional currency in which ABS operates, as we said before, and the ongoing depreciation of it can have a negative impact on operating revenues of the company. Domestic situation on the IT market can be impacted by global players, and this could lead to adverse impact on financial results and companies' operations. Major financial risk is seen in adoption of cloud computing. Vendor lock-in, particularly the cooperation with Microsoft and Oracle, may have a negative financial impact on the company if there was an increase in prices. ABS aspires to make a positive contribution to the local community in which it operates. The company pays taxes in Poland, which contributes to the state budget. It also contributes to the social, cultural, and sports life. The company takes part in educational activities. Because of the federation business model of the whole ASECO group, each company independently executes its activities based on the individual budget. This might also lead to potential risk of dissatisfaction on the side of benefiting employees and communities when resigning from the current activities. Overall, we think, and I think our analysis also shows, that ABS takes an active part in social responsibility and it's beneficial to the community. As for the valuation, we issue by recommendation as the target price offers 26.6% upside potential on the closing price of 43.7 Polish zloty. The target price of 55.337 Polish zloty was derived using two standard methods: discounted cash flow valuation and relative multiple analysis, shown in the presentation on the next slide, which was weighted together to arrive at a single target price. To determine target price, we used outputs from all models used, which we weighted together. To each output value, we have assigned weight based on accuracy of methodology and relevancy for this analysis case. We have decided to assign the highest weight, 40%, to the DCF model because we find it more accurate as the DCF takes more inputs into consideration. Thanks to a wider range of data used in DCF methodology, we had an opportunity to estimate the intrinsic value of ASECO business solutions more precisely. As a result of our relative multiple analysis, we have assigned 15% weight to each relative value from the relative valuation model. And this would be all. Thank you for your attention and we'll take your questions now.
Ďakujem veľmi pekne za vašu prezentáciu. Stihli ste to s celkom dobrou časovou rezervou. Takže perfektne naplánované. Teraz by som dal priestor našim porodcom. Začínam znova 10 minút, takže nech sa páči.
So if I may start, I would like to ask a little bit more in detail about the customer base of ASECO. So what are the customers and what is the stickiness of the product that ASECO provides to its customers? Thank you. Sorry, could you hear me? What, or should I repeat the question?
Yes, please. Could you repeat it again, please?
Yes. So once again, so what I would like to ask is if you can shed a bit more detail on the customer base of ASECO and on the stickiness of the product of ASECO vis-a-vis its customers, whether the customers change this product annually, what is the competition among the different suppliers of this product. So if you can provide us a bit more detail on that.
Okay, so the customers usually not really switching the product because when they have already once bought one ERP system from example ASECO Business Solution, the switching is very costly for them. So they probably wouldn't switch it. And ERP system overall provides very good reporting and analytical tools. So for companies seeking the productivity is RD system very important.
An additional question to that: did you find any sectoral concentration of the customers of the ASECO, and if so, did you consider it in your analysis?
Sorry, but we wouldn't really, we didn't really pay much attention to this topic, so we'll need to look at that more.
Thanks.
If I may now ask a question, what is the core competitive advantage of ASECO over the relevant competition, if any?
We believe that ASECO Business Solution has a strong competitive position thanks to their overall organization and creative solutions. ASECO Business Solutions is already established company with and they are brand, so the customers know about them, and also with they are the company is very appealing with the high payout ratio of its dividends.
Okay, do you consider this high payout dividend as an advantage for the investor, or how do you comment on the high payout dividend ratio versus the opportunities to grow?
We see that an advantage, but also ASECO Business Solution has a potential to grow because it is part of a federation model. So overall the expenses are covered by ASECO Group because ASECO Business Solution is at the lower positions.
And also to add to that, we think this might change in the future because of the competitiveness of other companies, because they don't have this high payout ratio of dividends. So this might potentially change in the future for the ASECO Business Group or Business Solutions.
Thank you. Next question. If I understand the presentation correctly, the business is concentrated heavily to Poland. Did you find any development over time in this, or this is stable for the last years and also expected for the future?
Well, they were also expanding in the previous years to the global market. But yes, their primary market is Poland, and most of their revenues come from Poland, but they each year they have been expanding to all the continents. So we think that they in the future they will get better in those markets also, not only in the Poland but also in the foreign markets.
Last question from me. How did you arrive at the weighted average cost of capital 5.8? I've seen the number in your valuation, one of the methodologies.
Yeah, we're probably sorry because our colleague did the valuation, so we're not very sure how he managed to get the numbers. So we're apologizing, but we cannot answer that question for you.
It's not your problem. Sorry for asking.
That's fine.
Not a convenient question. It's okay.
Sorry.
That's all from me. At least for the moment.
Okay, so I have a simple question. What is the strongest argument and what is the weakest argument for your recommendation? So what is the main argument why you think it is good to buy the stock? And what is the potential biggest risk and biggest unknown what we are putting to the model? What we think that, okay, this could be a tricky one assumption.
So for the biggest risk, we thought that potentially the foreign currency fluctuations might be the highest risk, or the vendor lock-in. For the currency, we think it's the biggest risk if we think of Asseco as expanding company to global market, and if the functional currency will stay Polish zloty, there might be financial risks towards the contracts going on, or like the future contracts. And I will let the girls talk about the highest or the most.
So strength, we think that the biggest or strongest strength is that Asseco Business Solution has already established its name among the customers on the Poland market, and also it operates in strong industry, so which is stable, and when there are going to be we're not expecting there to be such a strong changes in this, so the company should be able to retain its margins to the future too.
And simple sub question. So you think the company is cheap, like stock is cheap, or company will overgrow others, and this will be the source of the growth of the stock? Do you understand the question?
Could you repeat that, please?
So if you think that you are buying the stock because company is cheap, or you think that the company will overgrow the competition in the future, so it means like the growth aspect or valuation as a value aspect. What is stronger, this growth potential or this valuation potential, as this value potential from the perspective of the stock price, let's say valuation at the moment?
I think that right now we think that it's because of the cost that is cheaper than it should be.
Ďakujem veľmi pekne. Čas sme vyčerpali, 10 minút nám prešlo. Ďakujem veľmi pekne týmu D za vašu prezentáciu, odvedli ste naozaj skvelú prácu. Teraz by som o malú chvíľočku, môžete zrušiť zdieľanie prezentácie a ja by som o malú chvíľočku sa nám pripojí tým B a budeme pokračovať.
Áno.
Dobre, malo by sa vám dať opustiť túto breakout room a vrátiť sa naspäť, už budete prezentovať. Dobre?
OK.
Jak sa tam prepojím?
Leave room.
Aha, OK.
Leave room, nie že leave meeting, leave room. OK. Dobre, už sa k nám pomaličky pripojili členovia týmu B. Členovia týmu D môžu zostať samozrejme s nami tu pripojení, môžu si už vypočuť prezentácie kolegov. Dobre, všetci štyria z týmu B sú tu, super. Môžete zdieľať prezentáciu, pripraviť sa a odštartujem vám 10 minút. Pripravení?
Áno, sme.
Nech sa páči.
So, greetings everyone. In today's presentation, we will analyze Asseco Business Solution. Let us start with the presentation. As you can see, we recommend to hold based on ASECO business solution financial health and the low volatility of the external environment. Our target price is 46.9 Polish zloty, which is upside potential of 9.1% from the closing price of 42.97 Polish zloty from the 14th of January. It's difficult to predict the future development of the price, but based on the financial stability and the type of industry, we do not expect negative development.
ASECO Business Solution develops modern IT tools for companies by providing complete solutions tailored to the size of the enterprise, its unique manner of operation, and the industry. The direct parent of ASECO Business Solution is ASECO Enterprise Solution, which holds 63.42% of the company's shares. The parent of the entire group is ASECO Poland SA, holding 95.67% of shares in ASECO Enterprise Solutions AS. ASECO was established under a notarial deed dated in 2001. In 2007, 5 firms, Anika Systems, Safo, Soplab, Vapro, and Incenti, started cooperating and established ASECO Group. The group's operations will be divided into 3 main areas: ASECO Poland, Formula Systems, and ASECO International. ASECO Group is a European market leader in proprietary software operating in over 50 countries worldwide. The governing bodies of the company contains of the management board and the supervisory board. The management board is made up of the experts in IT industry, experts who know how to do and grow business. President of the board is Wojciech Baranchevich, who is in the position since 2012. The supervisory board is there to oversee every area of business. It is composed of 5 independent IT market experts.
In this part, we analyzed how does ASECO compare to its competitors. We chose return of assets, Altman Z-score, financial leverage, and market share as our judging criteria. As we can see on the left graph, ASECO's return of assets is second highest at 19.46%, greatly exceeding industry median of 1.98%. In the middle graph, we can see that ASECO is well beyond safe zone border of Altman Z-score with coefficient of 8.57. It can be said that industry has stable future with median standing at 3.4. Highest score belongs to Blanco Technology Group with coefficient of 11.14. Graph on the right suggests that ASECO's financial leverage is on the level of majority of companies in the industry, exceeding median only by 1.5%. Here we can see that the leader on the market with 76.04% market share is Kulcsov Nyrt from Hungary, and they also have highest return of assets. ASECO holds 10.66% market share, which is second highest. Blanco Technology Group, who we have mentioned as a leader in Altman Z-score, holds only 1.38% market share. On the left, we can also see share prices of ASECO's competitors, with the most valuable ones being Cape Technologies and Vandisco. This is mainly because both are based in UK, therefore the exchange rate of British pound to Polish zloty is 5.46, which is a key factor. Despite holding the majority of the market, Kulcsov Nyrt share price is only 70 Polish zloty, also due to a company being based in Hungary and the exchange rate of forint to Polish zloty being only 0.01 Polish zloty.
In our risk assessment, we used a risk matrix chart to determine the level of risk by considering the indexes of probability or possibility. This is a simple mechanism to increase the visibility of risks. The biggest risk, namely the risk that depend on the economical situation and the risk of increased competition, in our opinion, have a greatest impact on the company. Likewise, due to strong long nature of contracts with customers, risk of customers lock-in is not to be ignored, as it may negatively impact the long-term stability of the company. The activity by ASECO Business Solution depend on the general domestic and global economic situation and are under increasing pressure from competitors in the IT segment, both from local competitors and international IT corporations, and may have a negative impact on the company's activities and financial results.
The ASECO Business Solutions take active measures to improve the energy efficiency, which translates into both environmental benefits and lower cost of the operations. IT sector in which ASECO operates is characterized by relatively low impact on the environment. Scale of environmental impact is related to the scale of operations and waste generated by its employees, as well as consumption of electricity. ASECO also cares about well-being of their employees. Company makes sure its employees are constantly developing in several areas such as technical skills, sales and soft skills training, leadership training, basic managerial skills, and financial management. Company also provides psychological support, which is particularly important during the coronavirus pandemic. ASECO has also adopted its own anti-corruption policy, which is modified and suited for each of its own committees.
For the company, 2020 is a year with a revenue of 282 million Polish zloty, which is a record amount for the company. The largest year-to-year revenue growth is expected in fiscal 2021 at 6%. Thus, the annual revenue growth will amount to 9%, which is 3% higher than the previous period. Based on the inter-quarter and year-to-year analysis, it was concluded that in 2021, the ERP systems segment will bring revenues of 285.9 million Polish zloty, which will amount to 6.76% in inter-annual terms. The share of ERP systems in total revenue will be 95.4%.
After an analysis of ratios of profitability, liquidity, activity, and leverage of the ASECO Business Solutions, we concluded that the financial situation of the company shows all the signs of long-term stability. Regarding profitability indicators, even though ASECO Business Solutions gross margins below the industry average, it is important to know that the EBITDA margin and operating margin are more than 2 times higher than the industry median. The same applies to ROI and ROA, which shows year-to-year CAGR grow to 8.49% and 3.28%. This slide shows graphs regarding the capital structure of the company and the development of R&D expenses. On the left, we can see that ASECO's capital structure have fluctuated over the historical range. However, this is a general upward trend of liabilities, which we attribute mainly to rise in R&D expenses, as you can see in the graph on the right, which testifies ASECO's intentions in developing its main product, which is ERP systems. It also confirms the growth of human capital in 2017 by almost 2 times. The chart on the left shows the development of selling general administrative spending, which also confirms that we said earlier in 2017 year, investments in the development of the company associated with an increase in the number of employees are especially noticeable. On the right, you can observe the historical growth of taxation both in natural units and as a percentage. Over the 5 years, the effective tax rate was fallen by almost a quarter. We believe that the effective tax rate will decrease in the future. In the middle of the slide, the reliability of the financial reports is shown as a basis for the analysis using the earnings quality scoring method, which refers to the ability of reported earnings to predict the company future. In general, we can conclude that ASECO Business Solutions has a stable earnings quality despite the year of 2017, the result of which we have already explained. This indicates that our calculations are based on reliable financial information. As we said before, we recommended to hold. We derived our target price using a discounted cash flow for equity valuation model within which we used the historical dividend growth rate to determine the final cost. It can be concluded that the ASECO Business Solutions shares are not undervalued. On the contrary, they are even slightly overvalued. The company's discounted cash flow was also calculated. Its results you can see on the right side. We can represent the situation with the use of investor capital, but the company management is in operating activities. However, most of all, the investment decisions are influenced by the disposal of capital associated with the issuance and repayments of debt. One of the characteristics of the technology sector is investments of capital in research and development due to competitive pressure, which is most often associated with a high percentage of liabilities in the capital structure. Despite the fact that we expect an increase in debt, comparing the growth of debt with competition, we can trace the industry-wide trend towards an increase in total liabilities.
Thank you for your attention.
Ďakujem vám veľmi pekne. Stihli ste to LTT, dá sa tak povedať. Teraz dávam priestor našim porodcom a možno, že by som začal našou štvrtou porodkyňou, ktorá sa nedostala k slovu pri tom predchádzajúcom tíme. Takže pani Švarcová, ak máte otázočku, samozrejme, tak môžete začať.
Okay, so thank you for your presentation. And one question for me regarding the historical reaction of price to the potential earning or revenue surprise, if there were any, or some restatement or any release that surprised the public. What was the price reaction to that?
If I clearly understand what you asked us, the method we used was named CAGR or CAGR, like to analyze the historical development of measures.
My question is that if there were any earnings surprise or any...
On the spot. It was not in the financial information we had studied, and this is why we do not expect any surprises.
Okay, and were there any deep price drop historically, and what was the reason, and when it was, and what was the reason, and how long does the recovery last?
For November to today,
and what was the reason of the price drop?
Probably it should be also because of the pandemic and also because of the situation on the whole world, and nobody know what will be.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
If I may continue with the questions. So my question would be, you have shown us the peer analysis of competition of ASECO. So my question would be, is there any distinct competitive advantage which you have discovered in your analysis of ASECO? And could you tie that advantage to higher EBITDA margin that ASECO is recording compared to its competitors? Thank you.
Well, the competitive advantage, I think I would base it on the Altman Z-score, and in general, the financial results or indicators were really strong with ASECO. Historically, there weren't any drops or very significant falls. So as an investor, that would be what I would be looking for the stability. So I think that's something that could be communicated when trying to bring new shares on the market.
And maybe the advantage also should be that ASECO Business Solution is the first in the ITV's best 100 ranking of companies with the highest sales of ERP systems. So maybe this should be also the competitive advantage.
Marek, would you like to continue, or shall I continue with my
thanks.
question?
I will leave it to other judges to continue.
I have a curious question. On the risk matrix, I found that you find the customer lock-in as a high probability, high impact risk. Can you explain this assessment?
Okay, so I can explain. Our thought process was that that is the crucial point of their business, and when they are discussing conditions with their customers, they they don't have that much of a power, because there is a service that a lot of companies provide. So in that regard, it's a risk that losing that customer may impact long-term future of the company, because the ERP systems and their use has a long-term characteristics. So if you fail to get that customer, you lose long-term income from that particular customer. So that's why we included that as we judge it as it has a big impact, and the probability is there because there is a lot of similar services that are provided by different companies. So it is likely that when the company searches for the ERP system, it makes a list of companies that match their conditions. And if the ASECO would not meet those conditions, they would move to the next one, which I think that's why we included that as a very high risk.
Okay, did you get any chance to analyze the fluctuation in the customer base, and is there any development that will show any significant risk of not retaining ongoing customers?
No, I do not have this information.
One last question from me. The company, based on the presentation, seemed with a moderate growth. Did you identify any reasons for any higher growth, or you believe that this moderate growth will continue?
Oh, if I can say, I think the company is in a phase where that rapid growth is over, and it will be more oriented towards stabilizing their position on the market, and they're maybe stabilizing the share price.
Thank you.
I just have one question. Can you elaborate a little bit more, or again, because it was presented very quickly, what valuation method you used, or a combination? Can we come back to this slide again?
We used free cash flow to the firm, free cash flow to the equity method to calculate the target price and the intrinsic price of the share.
So these two methods, yeah?
Yeah.
And have you concluded the one price, or there was some let's say some ratios, or 50%, 50%, or so both are telling you that the whole recommendation is okay, yeah?
Yeah.
That's the point.
Nejaké otázky ešte od porodcov, alebo už nemáte? Ak už teda nie sú otázky, máme ešte minútku.
Okay, maybe the last question, that what do you like on the company?
I think from the business standpoint, we like that they can make tailored tailored solutions for the customers, and they seem to be reliable in it.
Thank you very much.
OK, ďakujem vám veľmi pekne za vašu prezentáciu aj za odpovede, za otázky, ktoré ste práve ukončili, ktoré ste dostali a na ktoré ste teda odpovedali. Môžete zrušiť prezentáciu, to zdieľanie, a ja idem zavolať posledný tím, ktorý nám, tím A. Za malú chvíľočku sa k nám pripoja. Super, myslím, že sú tu všetci členovia a členky týmu A, takže môžete zdieľať prezentáciu. A keď budete pripravení, sme pripravení? Dobre, tak môžete si odmutovať mikrofóny, aby ste náhodou nerozprávali, keď budete zamutovaní. A nech sa páči, 10 minút vám beží.
Good evening, everyone. We are here to present our hold recommendation for the company ASECO Business Solution. There are three main key drivers in our analysis. First one is their dominant position in Polish ERP market. Then there is high quality of their products. And the last one is high margins representing its effectiveness. ABS is a Poland IT provider of ERP system, mostly in Poland. They try to expand abroad, but they are not successful. We can say that by their revenues abroad, which represents only 13% of total revenue. Company was developed in 2007 by acquisition with another 5 IT companies. As we know, SoftWrap ERP is the only product developed by ABS. Thanks to acquisition, ABS obtained many other products, which can be divided into two main groups, cloud and on-premise systems. According to their customers, the biggest advantage of ABS is a strong support system for their products and very reasonable prices. FMCG omnichannel online product represents significant part of revenues during the fourth quarter, which tends to be the most profitable. In our point of view, ABS is financially stable company. 70% of their expenses are formed by employee costs. Their strategy is to maintain its dominant position on market by high depreciation and higher capex compared to their competitors, which we believe they are already fulfilling. Of course, we have to mention impact of COVID crisis on ABS. Thanks to the field of industry, ABS was able to perform almost without any restriction during the pandemic situation. Since ABS is a stable company and has a great diversification of customers, there was almost no negative impact.
Generally, we consider a company's interest in ESG rating as an important part of responsible future. Therefore, this interest of ABS, according to CFO Mr. Branislav Tkačík, in ESG topic was really disappointing. CFO claims that ESG rating doesn't add any added value to the company, and ABS doesn't consider ESG as their priority. Another problem of ESG valuation for this company were missing data, since ASECO Group in non-financial statements reports data only for entire ASECO Group and not separately for individual ASECO sub-companies. Because of missing data and disinterest of ABS, we were forced to work with the rating of ASECO Poland. In this slide, we can see that ASECO Poland has been improving its score since 2016 year by year. However,
we would pay attention to the rating for environmental pillar score, which was from our point of view too low when speaking about IT sector, which has low impact on environment. Now let's move to industry overview. We believe that ABS has a great potential to grow in next 5 to 10 years. Figure shows that Polish market is not saturated and is approximately 7 years behind European average. So Polish market has a space to grow. After 10 years, we suppose that the market will be saturated and growth in the sector will be settled in sustainable levels.
Now let's move to our peer group, which consists of worldwide ERP software providers and 5 Poland-based companies from the software sector. Based on the revenues, geographical spread, and customers, we think that ABS is not equal competitor to the Sage Group, Oracle, or Microsoft, because they are bigger players in the IT industry. Considering ABS core market is Poland, we find Komarch and SAP Polska the most relevant rivals. According to Komarch diversification, high revenue growth, and massive development plans, ABS needs a consecutive development to keep its leading position. To estimate the growth of ABS revenue, we divided it into 2 groups, Poland and the rest of the world. ABS growth in raw countries is just organic, they expand with their clients. Without extensive investments like acquisitions, their effort in Europe will be fading, so we expect the drop of the growth rate from the current 30% to 5% in 2027. After that, the growth rate slows down to a sustainable 2.5%. In Poland, our expectations are way higher. Dominant and first position in Poland ERP market by revenues, combined with great products, make ABS #1 in Poland. We expect saturation of Polish market in the next 10 years because of less digitized companies compared to European average. We predict a 9.8% growth in 2022 as the average of 3 pre-COVID years, and we think that the growth rate will linearly slow down to a sustainable 2.5% for the year 2031. ABS has a significantly lower percentage of working capital than its geographical peers. It's caused by its outstanding low payment and collection days. As we mentioned, it's a priority of the company to have high capital expenditures, mainly R&D, to keep its leading position on the market. As we can see, the biggest part of its capex are already research and development, and we predict this trend to continue in the following years. The gross margin of ABS is lower than its peers. Thanks to a small amount of other operating expenses, the difference in gross profit and EBITDA margin are low. Therefore, ABS has a significantly higher EBITDA margin than its sector peers. We do not expect the rise of the margin in the following years, but we believe that this already high margin is sustainable thanks to ABS' leading position on its core market. Our view of sustainability is also proved by the historical high growth of EBITDA margin.
This year valuation contains the free cash flow to the firm methodology to obtain the intrinsic value of ABS. Our final decision depends mainly on this year valuation, and we are using relative valuations just for confirmation of our ideas. Inputs to our model contain weighted average cost of capital at 9.04%, stated in a table on the left side. In our model, we estimate 2 prices at the end of September and December 2021. As you can see, the first price in September, we estimate an upside of 3.39%, and the second in December, downside of 12.87%. To support our recommendation, we perform relative valuation based on 2 metrics, price to earnings and EV to EBITDA multiples. According to both ratios, the company is more undervalued than its bigger peers. Considering peers from Poland, ABS is almost the median, which means that it is well priced on the market. We received a share price of 36.96 Poland zloty based on EV to EBITDA on Poland peers, which represents a 4.4% upside. The other received target prices represent even more favorable scenarios. Compared to ABS competitors, the dividend yield of ABS is higher. The company claims that it can keep this high of dividend yield. In our point of view, it supposedly does not limit the development of the company, its heading, and the strategy. We consider that higher dividends are more attractive for investors. So we think ABS is for investors more likely cash cow company.
In our sensitivity analysis, we observed a change in estimated stock value with the key inputs fluctuating. The worst case occurs when the one increase and the gross margin decrease, the maximum downside around 14%. In 41% of scenarios, the recommendation would be buy, in 41 hold, and the remaining 18% would be sell, so the results of our analysis confirm the correctness of our recommendation to hold. As part of the sensitivity analysis, we performed Monte Carlo simulation in which we focused on 3 variables, WACC, EBITDA margin, and revenue growth rate. We performed 150,000 iterations, and the outcome of the simulation just confirmed our estimation of ABS price and decision to hold. There are 2 main risks: risk of increased labor cost and pandemic situation or war. An increase in salaries and wages, which constitute a large portion of costs, may have a negative impact on the project margins and consequently on the results of the company. These days, potential of salary growth is higher with increasing inflation. During a pandemic or a threat of war, the company is threatened mainly indirectly through its clients. The sales of individual clients would decrease rapidly, which would cause a significant decrease in ABS sales because they are based on fees for the number of goods sold by their clients or provided support update of ERP systems.
Our final decision is to hold because of 3 reasons. Firstly, a dominant position in the Polish market is an advantage, but growing competition can shuffle the cards. Next, on the great products of ABS and higher capex investments help ABS to hold their market position. And the last one, not saturated Poland ERP market and the fact of difficulty for companies to change the ERP software keeps ABS in a great market position. For investors looking for a company with high dividend yield, ABS is a solid decision. Thank you for your time, and we are now open to your questions.
Ďakujem veľmi pekne za prezentáciu. Stihli ste to v časovom limite. A teraz by som dal priestor našim porodcom. Opäť 10 minút na vaše otázky. Nech sa páči.
So if I may start, you have mentioned in the presentation that ASECO has historically not been successful in their expansion abroad. What do you think were the reasons for that?
I can take this question. I think that the main reason that ASECO business solution is not really successful abroad is that according to CFO, Mr. Tkaczyk, the input costs abroad are almost 2 times higher than on the Poland market. So this is I think that this is the biggest reason why they are not successful.
I get add on to this question. Also, if we look to the historical revenues in the rest of the world countries, we can see these higher fluctuations, which represents that it's not really successful. So that we think.
Thanks. And my second question, if I understood correctly, you are implying that the ESG rating from the point of view of ASECO is not so important in terms of their company value and share price. Do you agree with that opinion? Why or why not?
We don't agree because according to us, ESG rating is an important part of successful company. Nowadays, we live in an age of social, global, and environmental and governance awareness. Everywhere we can see fighting against corruption, financial frauds, climate change, and so on. According to us, we believe that company with ESG score and what's the best with the high ESG score is the successful company, and we as shareholders would definitely go for a company with high ESG score. We wouldn't go for a company with really poor ESG score or even a company with no ESG score. And also we think that sooner or later it will be necessity to, for example, when speaking about environmental pillar score, to fulfill environmental initiatives according to legislation. For example, when speaking about European Union legislation about carbon dioxide footprint and so on.
Thanks a lot. I will give over to other judges.
I would like to ask a question also related to the geographical spread of revenues of ASECO. All the other markets, according to your presentation, were with very low share on the ASECO business, and assuming that also on the market in that country. What is the reason for that? That ASECO actually keeps this presence on in these markets? Is it actually making money there, or did you identify any cash leakage in these markets during your analysis?
I can take this question. When we analyzed the ABS, we realized that they are not successful as we said, and we asked CFO of ABS for the reason, and we asked specifically that it's just organic growth, that if the company buys their system, their ERP system, the company decides to grow abroad, and after that, the company keeps that ERP system with them to another foreign countries. So that's the point, or the describe to our organic growth. So
it's actually Polish-based customers that are expanding abroad. They are using the software also abroad. Is that the answer?
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. All from me for the moment.
I would like to ask about debt structure, long-term, short-term, and who are the debt holders?
I can also take this question. The debt structure of ABS, as we can see on the back, or the average cost of 16. Thank you. Yeah, we calculate this equity to capital and debt to capital according to peers. So that's not debt to capital is not ABS actual debt. Only debt of ABS is the leases according to IFRS 16 that bring the lease like the asset of this company, that their debt grow and that's their only debt. These leases, and they do not expect in the future take new other loans or something like that.
Okay, and how is the income statement sensitive to potentially rising interest rates?
Yeah, I can take it too. It's low risk when we took the risk 27. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, interest rate risk. It's high probability as we expect because of the high inflation on the market. It's around 8%. I'm not sure, but the consequences are lower because they have not loans or not debt, just leases, and leases at the 2020 annual report was around 3%. So if that will be higher, that can be higher costs, but it will affect ABS just in a low way.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I have question. Can you elaborate a little bit or comment the stock price development of, for example, last 5 years?
We don't have a graph for 5 years, but we have for 1 year. So
okay.
Yeah, we can see. Yeah, it's unfortunate that we don't have the graph for 5 years, but we can see on the fourth quarter that the stock price, every time the stock price rise, and it's because the FMCG that creates a 40% of ABS revenues, and it's FMCG. It's for example the Tesco or the Zara. That's mainly markets that grow their revenues in the fourth quarter because of vacations. and that's this peaks on the stock price of ABS, and we can see that peak on our graph after September. This potential grow, or this one quarter grow around 15% is because of that pattern.
Do you know some parameters of the stock, for example, volatility or beta or something like that?
Yeah, volatility of this price from top of my head, I'm not sure, around 12%.
Okay. And for example, the beta, it means some correlation to the market development or market indexes, like correlation to market indexes. You have 18 is beta.
Yeah, we created like we did not take the correlation to create the beta. We just take the leverage beta from the peer group companies that you can see on the graph in the right side, and we take a median from that because there was some of outliers there, and then we unleveraged the beta, and we came up with this number 0.89. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
OK, asi tu sú všetky otázky. Prípadne ešte niekto má? Pani Švarcová, nech sa páči, ešte máme 20 sekúnd.
I would like to ask if the companies trade also outside the Poland with some significant volume.
Can you repeat the question, please?
If the company is traded outside the Poland on the European market with some significant volume.
Yeah, we do not show some significant growth or volatility on the when we evaluate the company.
OK, ďakujem veľmi pekne za otázky našich porodcov, aj vám tým A za odpovede na ne, aj rovnako tak za vašu prezentáciu, aj za prácu. Teraz by som požiadal porodcov, aby sa presunuli do otvorenej miestnosti, ktorú som práve otvoril. Poprosím ostatných členov dnešného nášho online stretnutia, aby zostali v tomto hlavnom meetingu. Ja by som teraz odovzdal na ten čas, kým budú porodcovia hodnotiť prezentácie, a aby sa, dovolil by som si požiadať odovzdať teda slovo Martinovi Kažimírovi, ktorý pôsobí ako Executive Director v CFA Society Slovakia, a ktorý by vám v rámci nasledujúcich približne tých 20 minút predstavil aktivity CFA Society Slovakia a povedal vám viacej o tom, čomu sa venujeme. Takže Martin, môžem ťa poprosiť?
Jasné. Ďakujem to rozhodnutie, tak potom by som ti odovzdal slovo.
Dobre.
Ďakujem veľmi pekne.
Maťo, veľmi pekne ti ďakujem, že si vyplnil ten čas, kým sa porota poradila a kým sme zozbierali spätnú väzbu od všetkých. Skôr než prejdeme k tomu vyhodnoteniu, Marek Sasík, môžeš ty, kým začneme teda oficiálne hovoriť.
Dobre, tak ja, keďže potrebujem skôr odísť, ja sa chcem veľmi pekne poďakovať všetkým trom tímom. Viem si predstaviť, že možno ste si prežili aj trochu stresu, nevedeli ste, že čo vás bude čakať, takže všetkým naozaj, že super, že ste sa vôbec na to dali, že ste sa postavili a že ste čelili našim otázkam, a veľmi sa teším, keď sa budeme môcť porozprávať aj osobne a vyzdieľať možno dojmy, ktoré ste vy mali z nás, my mali z vás, a porozprávať sa trošku detaľnejšie, ale užil som si dnes tento večer s vami. Díky moc, vidíme sa.
Ďakujeme, Marek.
Aj pozdravujem všetkých porodcov.
Ahoj.
A díky, Mišo, za organizáciu. Ahojte.
Ahoj. Dobre, ja by som využil tento čas predtým, ako prejdeme k teda vyhláseniu víťazov. Dovolil by som si poďakovať možno, že menovite ešte raz všetkým, ktorí sa podielali aktívne na organizácii tejto súťaže. Dovolil som si začať vami, študenti, nebudem čítať vaše mená, na to ešte príde čas, keď budeme spoločne sa stretneme, ako Marek povedal, niekde pri dobrom jedle a pri dobrom nápoji a budeme mať možnosť sa konečne stretnúť osobne, čo bude neuveriteľné po 2 rokoch. Takže ďakujem vám za to, že ste našli tú odvahu a zapojili ste sa do tejto súťaže. Ďakujem rovnako tak aj jednotlivým fakulty advisorom, ktorí to tiež nemali ľahké v tejto dobe namotivovať študentov, ale ďakujem Zuzke Chladnej, Marianovi Smoradovi a rovnako tak aj Vladimírovi Valachovi, plus aj pánovi Tomášovi Rábkovi za to, že na univerzitách odvádzajú skvelú robotu a že sa im darí rok čo rok nachádzať študentov, ktorí majú možnosť vyskúšať si niečo takéto, ako je táto súťaž. Rovnako tak by som chcel poďakovať industry mentorom, ktorých som už menoval, ale zopakujem, Matej Sarinec, Martin Šebek, Matej Varga, Viktor Lehocký a František Štulajter, ktorí dedikovali svoj čas a venovali ho svojim študentom, ktorých mentorovali. Verím, že si to užili rovnako tak mentori a rovnako tak aj študenti, že ich to niekam posunie. Dovolte mi poďakovať aj našim graderom, ktorí dôkladne čítali vaše reporty, ktorí ohodnotili vaše práce, dali vám feedback veľmi rozsiahly. Ja v priebehu budúceho týždňa vám pošlem každému týmu ten feedback, ktorý ste získali od graderov, ale aj od našich porodcov, pretože spätná väzba je veľmi dôležitá, len vďaka nej sa môžeme posúvať dopredu. Takže dovolte mi poďakovať našim graderom, menovite Miroslavovi Fliegovi, Michalovi Mušákovi, Lojzo tentokrát nebol, Jánovi Beňákovi, boli traja naši gradery, ktorí dôkladne čítali vaše reporty a som im veľmi vďačný za to, akú prácu odviedli. Ďakujem aj našim porodcom, Marekovi Sásikovi, Marekovi Prokopcovi, Jaroslavu Janičkovi a pani Miroslave Švarcovej, že tu boli s nami, že venovali svoj čas a rovnako tak aj oni poskytnú feedback prostredníctvom hodnotiaceho formuláru. Nezostaneme len pri papierových feedbackoch, opäť zmiením to podujatie, ktoré pre vás pripravujeme. Tam bude možnosť neformálnej diskusii, získať spätnú väzbu, zistiť možno, že na čom zapracovať a to bude to správne miesto, kedy sa oplatí tú spätnú väzbu získavať a jednoduchšie príjmať. Takže ďakujem veľmi pekne všetkým, ktorých som menoval, plus veľká vďaka Martinovi Kažimírovi, ktorý veľmi intenzívne pomáhal pri organizácii Research Challenge, pri získavaní porodcov, graderov a pri všetkom máte veľká vďaka. A dovolte mi poďakovať ešte raz pánovi Branislavovi Tkáčikovi. Veľmi si vážim, že ste si našli vy čas a že ste ho venovali a veľmi intenzívne našim študentom a verím, že ste si užili aj dnešný večer a dnešné prezentácie. A skôr než vyhlasím výsledky, možno, že by som dal priestor vám, pán Tkáčik, ak by ste chceli niečo na margo prezentácií, ktoré ste si vypočuli, povedať.
Ďakujem za tú možnosť ešte raz byť na takomto, nazvem to, evente, aj keď online. Bolo to prvýkrát aj v mojej nejakej kariére, že som mohol sa takto zúčastniť. Ten môj dojem je veľmi pozitívny z tých prezentácií. Trochu som si zažil aj na tých otázkach, takže som možno tušil, že niektoré oblasti budú ťažšie aj pre tých súťažiacich alebo študentov, nakoľko to nie je jednoduché len takto vyvnímať alebo nejako navnímať tú realitu. Ale taký je proste život, nie všetko sa v rámci týchto študijných, by som povedal, pokusov dá. Želám každému, že nech sa podarí profesionálne pokračovať v tejto oblasti, nakoľko je to veľmi, veľmi zaujímavé a určite ten reálny život je v tomto pestrejší. Takže neviem, kto bude víťazom, samozrejme nechám sa prekvapiť, komu sa podarí postúpiť ďalej. Myslím si, že každá prezentácia bola trochu inak poňatá a za mňa tým víťazom sú všetci a možno taká ideálna prezentácia by bola zložiť to všetko dohromady, ale to asi pravidlá neumožňujú. Napriek tomu, ak by niekto ešte mal nejakú snahu alebo nejak po tom follow-upe alebo po tej spätnej väzbe si niečo ešte doplniť, tak ja ponúkam naďalej môj čas. Kľudne sa ozvite, či už v rámci tohto kola alebo nejakých ďalších tém, ktoré by ste chceli riešiť. Myslím si, že je to užitočné naozaj sa takto podeliť. Môj kontakt máte, čiže či už na nejakú prax alebo čokoľvek, tak kľudne môžu sa vaši študenti obrátiť a rád sa zapojím ďalej. Takže ešte raz ďakujem veľmi pekne za túto možnosť a prajem všetkým ešte pekný večer.
Ďakujeme veľmi pekne, pán Tkáčik. No, teraz pristúpime, rozmýšľal som, že aj nejaké fanfáry by to chcelo, ale dáme to tentokrát bez nich, necháme si to aj potom na to naše spoločné stretnutie. Ak by som mohol poprosiť ostatné týmy, keby si mohli zapnúť kamery, aby sme to mali takto trošku osobnejšie v rámci tohto virtuálneho prostredia. Inak veľmi sa mi páčia vaše pozadia, je to super. Čo máte? Dobre, týmy sú asi všetky. Ako som povedal, tak finálne poradie alebo finálny počet bodov, ktoré jednotlivé týmy získali, sa skladá 50% váhu mali reporty, 50% váhu mali dnešné prezentácie. Každý tím dostane počty bodov, koľko získal za jednotlivé časti, aby to bolo všetko korektne. Obdržíte, ja si dovolím povedať len, je mi cťou, že dnes vyhlasujeme len 3 miesta, takže všetci ste víťazi. Na 3. mieste s počtom bodov 64,46 sa umiestnili študenti reprezentujúci Ekonomickú univerzitu v Bratislave, to znamená tím B. Takže gratulujem vám veľmi pekne. Takže 3. miesto máme. Ideme na to 2. miesto. Veľmi ťažké. Zatiaľ si dovolím povedať, že na 2. mieste sa umiestnil tím z Univerzity Komenského. Keďže máme 2 týmy, tak je to ešte stále napäté. Na 2. mieste sa umiestnil tím, ktorý má 68,08 bodu. A je to tím z fakulty manažmentu. Takže gratulujem k 2. miestu.
No, takže dokopali sme ich.
OK, dobre, no a teda napätie už nebude, takže na 1. mieste sa umiestnil tím reprezentujúci Univerzitu Komenského, fakultu matematiky, fyziky a informatiky. Tím A. Veľká gratulácia víťaznému tímu. A ešte som zostal dlžný počet bodov. Na 1. mieste tím získal 84,96 bodu. Takže veľká gratulácia nie len víťazom, ale teda tým, kto sú na 1. mieste, ale vám všetkým 3. Odviedli ste naozaj skvelú prácu, možno si to neuvedomujete rovnako ako naši hokejisti, ktorí ráno teda úspešne zvládli hokejový zápas, ale dojde vám to neskôr, keď budete pokračovať po štúdiu alebo počas štúdiu budete chodiť na pracovné pohovory, budete sa ukázať, tak určite tí, ktorí s vami budú komunikovať a uvidia, že ste urobili niečo takéto, že ste sa nechali nahovoriť, v dobrom to myslím, na túto súťaž, tak to ocenia, pretože je málo ľudí, však vidíte, koľko vás reálne je tu, z toho množstva študentov, ktorí na Slovensku sú. A myslím si, že máte byť na čo hrdí a rovnako tak ľudia, ktorí pri vás stáli a ktorí vám pomáhali. Takže za mňa veľká gratulácia a dovolil by som si odozdať slovo na záver Marekovi Prokopcovi. Nech sa páči, Marek.
Ďakujem pekne. Takže ja by som tiež chcel pogratulovať víťazom. Naozaj ste to mali pekné. Tá prezentácia bola akože dosť dobrá. To sme sa všetci po rote zhodli, že to bol zážitok. Chcem pochváliť všetkých. Hej. To znamená, že aj tí, čo dneska nevyhrali, vôbec nevadí. Urobili ste ako veľmi dobrý krok.
No, gratulujem. Pozerám ako ten záver.
Do svojej budúcej kariéry. Niekto tam má asi zapnutý mikrofón?
Som mutol.
Tak. urobili si zaujímavý krok tak z tej svojej budúcej kariéry, lebo dúfam, že sa budeme stretávať aj v budúcnosti, že budete kandidáti CFA programu, akože, že aj sa budeme vidieť v tej našej asociácii na Slovensku. Ako zaujímavý krok dvoch veciach. Jedno je to, že čo vidím aj z takého biznis pohľadu, pracujem v asset managemente, v penzijnej spoločnosti, že dneska to, čo je obrovsky cenné na mladých ľuďoch, je taká tá aktivita. Keď sa zapájajú, keď chcú, toto hľadá každý a toto bude na nezaplatenie do budúcnosti. A myslím si, že toto je pre vás správny krok z hľadiska financií, lebo ten CFA program naozaj poskytuje že veľmi zaujímavé svetové vzdelanie, že nám všetkým to veľmi pomohlo, preto sme takí aktívni aj v tejto slovenskej asociácii, bo vidíme, že to je dobrá cesta, preto aby ste sa aj vy v budúcnosti dostali naozaj že svetovému investičnému vzdelaniu ako nejakej nadstavbe, pomôže vám to v kariére, lebo toto niečo znamená všade na svete. Hej, takže ani možno dnes neviete, aký dobrý krok ste spravili a či ste vyhrali alebo nevyhrali, to o 10 rokov nebude dôležité, lebo všetci budete niekde úplne inde. To znamená, to, že ste sa do toho dali, to je znak toho, že máte chuť niečo robiť a napredovať. A myslím si, že ste si aj mali šťastie možno, že dostali k takémuto niečomu zaujímavému, lebo niekedy sa k tomu treba naozaj že dostať a mať tú šancu. Takže že teším sa, že Research Challenge je takou súčasťou života CFA Society Slovakia. Mali sme 3. ročník, vlastne každý rok, odkedy existuje tá society na Slovensku, sa nám to podarilo zorganizovať. Society na Slovensku naozaj je taká pulzujúca skupina ľudí, taká komunita, ktorá je nadbrandová, nadproduktová. Rád sa tam stretávam s tými ľuďmi, funguje to dobre, takže teším sa, keď vás uvidíme. Poďakovať chcem všetkým, ktorí do toho boli zapojení, lebo je to viac roboty, ako sa zdá. To znamená, že je to dosť roboty pre študentov, to ste si zažili, ale aj pre tých mentorov. My to judge to máme najľahšie, my si to vypočujeme a na konci sa nejako dohodneme. Hej. Tí gradery už musia oveľa viacej čítať, takže si to odmakali a veľmi chcem poďakovať Michalovi Mešťanovi, celú tú organizáciu CFA Research Challenge má na starosti, lebo to nie je iba zorganizovanie tohto eventu, to je celá tá komunikácia s inštitútom, s firmou, ktorá sa analýzuje, celý ten výber, takže to je naozaj že veľa mesačný proces, takže Michal, ďakujem, robíš to perfektne a tešíme sa, že si to takto zhostil a naozaj to dokážeme na vysokej úrovni robiť. Takže ďakujem veľmi pekne, za mňa teším sa, keď sa uvidíme, rád sa s vami porozprávam, aj o tých skúsenostiach, ktoré som tu ja získal dneska. Kľudne si povieme tie dobré veci, kľudne si povieme aj tie veci, ktoré napríklad, že neboli ideálne, aby ste sa z toho niečo naučili do budúcnosti. Takže za mňa ďakujem pekne.
Marek, veľmi pekne ďakujem za to posledné slovo. Ja ešte len teda zrekapitulujem, že finálny report víťazného týmu A ja pošlem do CFA Institutu. Oni vás potom budú kontaktovať. Ja vás chcem veľmi pekne požiadať, keď vás budú kontaktovať, tak ma informovať o tom, aké inštrukcie dostávate, aby sme o tom boli informovaní, najmä aké deadliny budete mať keďže to bude online, budete s vysokou pravdepodobnosťou nahrávať video prezentáciu, tak ešte predtým by sme veľmi radi spolu, či už skôr s porodcami sa s vami stretli online, ak teda to inak nebude možné, a preberieme možno, že niečo, čo ešte by bolo vhodné zlepšiť, aby tá prezentácia potom bola čo najlepšia. Ostatným študentom a všetkým ešte raz veľmi pekne ďakujem. Všetkým vám potom pošleme informáciu, keď budeme mať pripravený event fyzicky, aby sme sa mohli stretnúť. Dostanete pozvánku a aby to nebolo len o tom, že ste niečo robili, máme pre vás pripravené aj nejaké ceny. Nebudem špecifikovať, že čo, ale samozrejme aj takouto formou sa budeme chcieť vám odvďačiť za prácu, ale verím, že veľkou odmenou bude pre vás práve to spoločenské podujatie, na ktorom sa budeme môcť spoločne stretnúť. Už bez tých krásnych pozadí, ktorú väčšina máte. Takže ďakujem všetkým veľmi pekne za vašu účasť, za čas, ktorý ste s nami strávili. Prajem vám pekný večer, no a želajme si v piatok aspoň ešte jedno víťazstvo na olympijských hrách. Takže pozdravím všetkých, majte sa.
Tak. Ahojte, dovidenia.
Dovidenia.
Pekne, dovidenia.
Dovidenia.
Ahojte.
Dovidenia.
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 Ďakujeme sa.